Hi, I'm Melanie Hatter. I am the author of Malawi Sisters, which was released in 2019 from Four Way Books. I'm very excited to be participating in the Scheherazade Project. 101 Nights of Women Telling Stories. I'd like to read an excerpt from the novel. It is a book that is certainly speaking to our times. It was inspired by the shooting death of a young black woman by a white man. That was back in 2013, Renisha McBride. But it certainly seems to be speaking to a disease that is continuing to ravish this country. And I hope that we're on the cusp of some serious change. So, Malawi Sisters. Charlene played with her broccoli, moving it around her plate with her fork. Kenya told her to eat up. "Why are we going to Florida?" the girl asked. "We're going to participate in a march for justice." "For Aunt Maui?" "It's like Trayvon Martin," Junior said. "Black folks are getting gunned down just for being black." Kenya's chest tightened. This wasn't something she wanted her son to think. "Well, it's not as simple as that, really," she said, but she wasn't certain how to explain the complexity of race. "Who's Trayvon Martin?" Charlene looked from her brother to her mother. "A teenager who was shot down because he was black," Junior said with authority. "It's complicated," Kenya said. "He was in the wrong place at the wrong time." Junior gave her a look she didn't understand, contempt or bewilderment. "That's not right," he said. "Mr. Pierce, our sociology teacher, says he was killed because he was black." Kenya took a deep breath. She hadn't given her children the talk, always putting it off, waiting for Sydney to be there to lead the discussion, hoping for a better time, as if there would ever be a better time to talk about what it means to be black in America. The topic made her uncomfortable, almost like talking about sex. It would change them. They wouldn't be her babies anymore. "Trayvon Martin was walking home," said Kenya. "That's all, and a man shot him because he thought he was dangerous." "Why was he dangerous?" asked Charlene. "He wasn't dangerous," Junior said, his voice rising, hands spreading out, punctuating his words. "That's the point. He was just walking home, but he had a hoodie on, and the man thought he was dangerous, but he wasn't. The man was dangerous, not Trayvon." "We don't know the whole situation." She remembered the news reports and the confusion of what happened, wondering why a Hispanic man would shoot a teenager, walking through the neighborhood, thinking there had to be some reasonable explanation. "Seriously, Mom?" Junior stared at her aghast, and she felt rebuked. "Well, yes, you're right," she conceded. "He was just walking through a neighborhood, kind of like ours, really, except they had a security guard. A neighborhood watch guy, I think, who confronted the boy, and they got into a fight, started to argue, and the guy said he felt threatened, and he fired his gun, and..." A sudden pain swelled in her chest, a tightness constricting her breath. Malawi wasn't coming back. She inhaled, filling her lungs as if she wouldn't get the chance again, and looked at Charlene. "You have to be careful. There's a lot of crazy people out there, dangerous people with guns. Like the man who shot Aunt Maui," Charlene said. "Yeah," said Junior. "Some white man shot her because she was black." He folded his arms and leaned back in his chair. "But marching won't do nothing? It's a waste of time." "Won't do anything," Kenya waited for him to repeat the sentence correctly, but instead he gulped his milk. She didn't push it, and instead asked, "Why do you say that?" "Because people marched for Trayvon, but it didn't change nothing. People marched in Ferguson for Michael Brown. People protested in Baltimore for Freddie Gray. They've been protesting all across the country. What's changed?" Flustered at her son's maturity and knowledge of the nationwide protests, Kenya stumbled over her words. She wasn't sure marching would make any difference this time either, but Ghana said it was important to be there, show family unity. "It's a way to show the people in charge, the politicians, that we want something done," Kenya said. "That laws should change so people with guns can't just shoot an unarmed person just because they feel like it." Charlene's face still looked puzzled. "So why did the man shoot Aunt Maui? Was it really just because she was black?" "Yeah, that's exactly why," Junior said firmly, pushing his chair back from the table. Kenya looked at her daughter. "She just needed help with her car and went to the man's house. He says he thought she was an intruder, and that's why he fired the gun." She wanted to leave her daughter with some hope and said, "It could have been an accident." Junior tilted his head to the side, his mouth slanted as if silently saying, "You know that's bullshit." She could try to hide behind the notion that people who get shot have somehow brought it on themselves because of their attitude or their lifestyle. But truth was, black people have been dying for decades simply because of their skin color. And all that had changed was the technology to capture it on video. There had been no reason to shoot Malawi. There had been no reason to shoot Trayvon or any of the countless others. But it was easier to blame the victim and stay safe in a bubble of, "It can't happen to me because I'm good, I'm better." She wanted to believe there was a reason beyond skin color, that America had moved forward since the 60s, but it hadn't. Not really. Her sister's murder was proof beyond a doubt. Nausea twined its way to her throat, knowing she had blamed her sister because of alcohol or drugs, because of bad choices. But now the slime of reality was thick on her skin. Kenya wanted to protect her children, wanted them to feel good about the world, to believe the color of their skin wouldn't limit their opportunities in life. She didn't want them to fear being shot just because they were black, but they could be. Her 12-year-old son already knew it, and now, so did her 9-year-old daughter. She couldn't keep her children swaddled anymore. Kenya swallowed a dry lump. Honestly, yes, it was probably because she was a black stranger at his door, and he was afraid. Charlene's crumpled expression wrecked Kenya. Junior nodded as if satisfied his mother had finally spoken the truth. "May I be excused?" he asked. She nodded and watched him lope out, heading to his room. Charlene listlessly poked the broccoli with her fork. Kenya caressed her cheek. "Being black is..." She hesitated. "Be proud, be smart, be all the things you want to be. There are evil, horrible people out there, but that's not the whole world. There is good out there too." Her daughter continued to frown at her plate. "You're excused if you've had enough," said Kenya, feeling defeated. Charlene responded with a quiet thank you and meandered into the den to watch cartoons before bedtime. At the march. Kenya rummaged in her purse for a tissue and pressed it firmly on her forefinger, trying to stop the bleeding, trying to be discreet. Chewing the skin until it bled was a habit she had never understood and struggled to stop. She folded over the tissue and dabbed the clean side on her temple. The temperature was hotter than she'd expected, and she knew the back of her dress was soaked with perspiration. She looked around, hoping no one was paying attention to her, despite sitting on a stage before a mass of people. She hoped she still appeared cute and stylish. Signs bobbed and swayed above the crowd. Justice for Malawi. Make an arrest. Black lives matter. Black women matter. Something about that last one stung. Until now, she hadn't seen any headlines about black women being killed by cops or vigilantes. She was sure her sister wasn't the first, and wondered if the news media didn't consider the deaths of black women as newsworthy enough. Black women did matter. They were mothers and daughters and sisters and wives. Ghana was graceful as she stepped to the microphone, and this surprised Kenya. Her sister was eloquent, strong, passionate, all the things Kenya wished to be. Ghana was free to be anything she wanted. In high school and college, Kenya panicked whenever she got a B. The fact that Ghana never got her bachelor's degree dumbfounded Kenya, who would never have gotten away with not graduating. But then look at her life. She got paid by the hour and probably had no health insurance. There was no security in that kind of a life. Junior patted her forearm. "Mom, when will the speeches be over? I want to march." "I don't know, honey. Sit up. It won't be long. Look at your Aunt Gan. Isn't she beautiful?" Junior shrugged. Ghana was beautiful, Kenya thought. She wished she were more like Ghana. Speeches and more speeches, then everyone would march to the courthouse to demand the arrest of Jeffrey Davis, who apparently hadn't been seen since the shooting. "Too many of us are dying," Ghana said, her voice echoing through the speakers into the air. "My sister will not die in vain. We must demand change." The crowd burst into applause, and Kenya nudged her daughter to a sitting position and clapped her hands with a sudden burst of energy. The balled-up bloody tissue fell to her feet, and a breeze shifted it toward the edge of the stage, causing Kenya to panic. She watched it teeter like a red-spotted carnation, afraid of it being blown into the audience. Then her father stood up, drawing her back into the moment, and she looked at Ghana, who glanced back, perhaps seeking reassurance or checking to make sure everyone was still awake, and Kenya stood up to applaud, forgetting the tissue. Her sister was a superstar. They marched slowly. This was Kenya's first protest march. Some linked arms, making her feel awkward. She avoided linking arms by walking between Charlene and Junior. This wasn't the march on Selma across the Pettus Bridge, after all, yet a weight settled in her stomach. A woman approached, older, perhaps her mother's age, wearing a bright green blouse and black pants. Arms outstretched, she took Kenya's hands, forcing Kenya to stop walking. The crowd nudged past. "I lost my brother," the woman said. Her small eyes were full of tears yet to fall. "He was shot by the police. They just don't care about us. Just don't care." Kenya wasn't sure how to respond. "I'm so sorry," she said, squeezing the woman's hands. She didn't understand why so many African Americans were being shot. And why Malawi? Ghana was right. This was bigger than the Walker family, bigger than their loss and their pain. The woman said, "You're not alone," then pulled away, and Kenya gripped Junior and Charlene's hands. As the crowd swallowed the woman, Kenya tightened her hold on her children and spied Ghana's hair up ahead. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the reading, and I hope you enjoyed these 101 nights. Thank you.